Full disclosure, I am my wife and I have two sons, Shmuley 22, Ari 19. They both have special needs. Ari actually turned 19 today, our youngest son. So we had a few cupcakes to celebrate, and then we discussed the fact that the insurance I had until 18 is like over now. So we have to deal with that. So there are people in this room that I do know, that I don't know, and some of them have people with special needs in their lives. But my experience shows me that they're also special people. If anyone in this room is anything like my wife, then you're special. My wife will spend so much every night. She'll brush the two boys' teeth, first floss, and then brush. It takes tremendous patience. Occasionally, when I'm on duty, I just take the toothpaste, put it into their mouth. I say, "Suck it off, and don't tell them how it." That's the way I deal with it. In fact, I need to apologize. I'm going to have to leave after my remarks because I'm actually on toothbrushing duty tonight. So I'm going to leave. I apologize for that. I want to share an experience with you. A number of years ago, there was a wonderful program in the YMCA in Lincoln Park, I think it was. Volunteer people, a gym program for kids with special needs, and we took our two boys there. And I think we were the only Jewish family, I think, there. Wonderful, wonderful people, volunteers, and and while the kids are playing, you sit in your schmooze with people in the lounge, and culturally, these people are very, very different than myself. As an example, one day I said to this woman, "How you doing?" She said, "Oh, last night was one of those nights. I needed a drink." I said to myself, "I needed food." But there's culturally no real connection. She needed a drink. I ate a pound of pistachio nuts. There's no. So on one hand, we're so different. At the same time, there's a certain bond I felt with her because she knows that I get it to some extent, and I know that she gets it. So first thing I want to say is that to the extent I get it, everyone's challenge is different. But I get it, and if I feel a bond to a person who's so culturally different than me, certainly among ourselves, we sit at Mount Sinai 3,000 years together. We have this bond as Jews, so I feel a tremendous bond with all of you. There are people in this room who don't have the challenge, but they get it also, and they try to get it even better. Some of the people on the panel, of course, are in that category as well. So they're wonderful people in this room. So I'm actually a little nervous. Because it is an awesome responsibility. I want to share with you a few thoughts. One thing, some people who know me have heard this probably 10 times because it's one of my favorite things, and it's actually it happened even before we had our two sons, but it's something that I think is very relevant, and it's actually timely because we know we just finished the Olympic Games. So this goes back probably 20 years ago. I was on jury duty. I wasn't limited to 15, 20 minutes. I tell you a whole spiel about jury duty, but we'll fast forward. I met this fellow, Jewish fellow from, he lived in Everton at the time, and to his credit, he volunteered to teach Hebrew school in Glencoe. He didn't have much of a Jewish background himself. He volunteered to teach there, and we became friends. We started studying together occasionally, and we would sometimes discuss, prepare things for him to speak to these kids about to try to inspire them. So after a while, he says to me, "How about coming to speak to the 8th grade boys in the Hebrew school in Glencoe?" So I said, "Tell me something about it." First thing he says is, "I'm there, want to be there." Can anyone see that possibility? They don't want to be at Hebrew school Sunday morning? Second thing is, this is harder to understand. He said, "They're not interested in hearing you." Why would they want to hear a rabbi Sunday morning of all things? And third thing is, their minds were totally occupied with the Olympic Games at the time. So I said, "Sounds like a wonderful way to spend my Sunday. Don't want to be there, don't want to hear me, absorbed in the Olympic Games." So I said, "Sure." I felt they had a responsibility to go to try to kindle some Jewish pride in these kids. So I said, "I'll be there." Then I said, "Okay, cats, what's the plan here? What are you going to do when you get there?" Everyone knows that it's never good to be a substitute in any situation. And given the description of this group, it was obvious to me that if I had any chance of getting their attention, what did I have to speak about? Olympics. That's for sure. Only chance I had. So I came up with this idea, which I share with people every Hanukkah, and I hope that you find it inspiring as well. As Rabbi Kosh said, Rabbi Kosh I think had a sense as that whatever I talk about, there should be some Torah at this gathering, which is absolutely correct. I actually want to mention that when Rabbi Kosh invited me, with great sensitivity, he did call me. He called a very close friend of mine to ask if I would be comfortable if he would ask me. No, that's something that's very special. And sometimes there are people that want to do the right thing but don't know, and they're not sensitive enough. It was very sensitive. Actually, obviously, I'm comfortable because I'm here, but it was very sensitive of him. And those of you who are here for the first time, perhaps come again, because he represents someone that doesn't just teach Torah but lives Torah. That was a very Torah way of inviting me to this wonderful gathering. So, anyways, I come to these kids and I say, you guys are watching the Olympics? They say, sure. I said to them, where did the Olympic Games originate? They all knew, of course, ancient Greece. I said to him, you know that besides the whole big Olympic Games, the big spiel, like we've witnessed the last few weeks, there's something else that's much smaller. We refer to it as the blank Olympics. Not the big Olympics, but something smaller, the blank Olympics. Anyone know where I was heading? So I meant Special Olympics. I said, yeah, Special Olympics. I asked these kids, I was actually very impressed. I said to them, which of the two do you think is really more meaningful? The whole big spiel Olympics or the Special Olympics, which is obviously much smaller, right? But everyone knows we all have an intuitive sense of something special about Special Olympics. And they all said Special Olympics is more important. I was very impressed with that. So I said to them, we all know that the Olympics began in ancient Greece, right? We all agree that Special Olympics is such a precious, special thing, much more important than all this big hype Olympics. So I said to them, do you know whether there were Special Olympics in ancient Greece? If you remember your ancient history, you might know where I was heading.
No.
No, the answer is no, and you can prove it. And one of the kids very astutely put it like this. He said there would not have been any participants. In ancient Greece, if a child was born handicapped, they were left on a mountain to die. So I said to them, so what do you think happened? Why is it that any decent person today has an intuitive feeling that Special Olympics are so wonderful, so special, right? You know that there used to be a guy, Jay Leno, he's sort of, when Barack Obama first became president, he was on the Jay Leno show. He made the same mistake that rabbis make sometimes. They think if you're on Jay Leno, you have to be funny. So he tried to be funny, and you may remember he made an off-the-cuff remark. Someone asked him about his bowling skills. He said, my bowling skills are like Special Olympics. Ooh, the world was in an uproar. Before it was even on air, he already had an apology drafted, and it was a whole big thing. So the most powerful person in the world was on the hot seat, because everyone knows you don't make jokes about Special Olympics. So what happened? Why was it that in ancient Greece, there were very smart people in ancient Greece? Wait, what happened? So I wanted these kids to know that what happened was that we changed the world with our Torah. We came to a world, and we told the world, you may be called the civilization Greece, and our tradition recognizes the wonderful things that were part of Greek culture. At the same time, you guys are clueless about this world is really about. This world, we taught the world this world was created by one loving God, and we taught the world, if you ask people, what do the Jewish people teach the world? People will say often about God, monotheism. And that's true, of course, but really, perhaps even more importantly, we taught the world about human beings. We taught the world that God created every human being in his image. There's something sacred in every human being. There's something of the godly within every human being, and that's what changed the world. I always tell people that us Westerners think to ourselves, if I would have been in ancient Greece, I'd get up and protest in the name of human dignity. No, nobody thought that way in those days. It made perfect sense. The Greeks were enamored with beauty and with harmony, and it made perfect sense to them to discard something that was not perfect. Right? So I think we all should know and appreciate the fact that this is taking place. This is taking place because of what we taught the world. Now, I have a close friend, Rabbi Zev Cohen, who's a prominent rabbi in Chicago. He has a sister with Down syndrome. She's now, I think, probably in her 40s. They grew up in Boston. Boston was a great Rabbi Soloveitchik. There was a Rabbi Soloveitchik here in Chicago who was a brother of the Rabbi Soloveitchik in Boston, and they were both the greatest minds of the 20th century. So his family went to Rabbi Soloveitchik's synagogue, his shul, and Judy knew the rabbi. So one year the rabbi was sick for a few weeks. He was not in synagogue. He came back. The whole congregation followed by, "How's the rabbi? Thank Baruch Hashem. Thank God. How's the rabbi? Thank God. Baruch Hashem." Then Judy comes and says, "How's the rabbi?" And he starts schmoozing with Judy for 10 minutes. So people were curious, you know, and they said to the rabbi afterwards, everyone was, "Thank God," and Judy is schmoozing for 10 minutes. Right. So it's interesting, you know, this great mind who had total command of the entire Torah, of Western culture, Western philosophy. This great mind. How did he look at Judy? He said to the people, "You know why I spoke to her? Because she's the only person in this entire room, and she said, 'How do you feel?' She really meant it." This great mind saw the neshama, saw the soul, saw the godliness within this young woman, Judy, and that's how we related to her. So we should have a sense of pride that we taught this to the world. At the same time, it gives us a responsibility as well. I actually changed my planned remarks because I'll tell you why. I wanted to share something with you because I just was told a few hours ago. I have a nephew. Some of you may have even heard about it. It was in the news all over the world. My nephew married my niece. My little niece used to be Shane when she was born. Now she has 9 children, and they were in a terrible car accident. They live in Ottawa, and at that time they had 8 children. At that time, one son was not with them; he was away, and my niece was expecting. So there were 7 3/4 children in the van, and they were driving upstate New York, and they hit a deer. And everyone came out unscratched, but my nephew was paralyzed. Oh, he's a quadriplegic. I'm not telling this to be down because he's not a down person. You know, in fact, I always tell people that the Jewish people would not be here if we didn't have a sense of humor. We need to have a sense of humor. I don't know anyone can get through challenges in life without a sense of humor. I tell my wife every once in a while, we leave the house, okay, the kids can say to each other, "Okay, they're gone, we can talk now." It just needs to be able to laugh. In fact, we visited them shortly after the accident. He was in intensive care in Ottawa, and he was able to speak. His mind was not affected. And the doctors and the nurse were discussing some machine over there, what setting to put it on or something, and they said 20, 30, and he says, "Do I hear 40?" That's the kind of person he is. Actually, if you want to redeem the time that you spend blogging, he has a blog called The Rolling Rabbi. Rolling as in wheelchair. So anyway, so today I found out that he had a setback. You know, he's doing very well. He made tremendous progress. I could talk to you about him for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. But he made tremendous progress. But he had a setback today because his body is very frail. So therefore, I thought that I would share with you something. You know, I don't feel the fact that I have 2 children with special needs gives me license, so to speak, to tell people, you know, everyone's challenge is different. But I do feel comfortable conveying to you a message from my nephew. His body is very fragile. So last Pesach, he had a setback, and he was taken to the hospital, and they came very close to losing him. They revived him in the house. They took him to the hospital, and the first thing they said to my niece was, "Do you want to sign to not resuscitate?" So my niece said, "He has 9 kids. You got to do whatever you can." So she wouldn't sign it. He came out of it. He went on to recover sufficiently to go home, and the daughter went to a yeshiva high school in Montreal, Canada, and he traveled to Montreal to speak at his daughter's graduation. So what I want to share with you what he said at his daughter's graduation. As I said, I feel I can convey to you what he said because he could say it. And nothing gives him more strength than a sense that in any way his challenge could help inspire people or move people. So he spoke at the graduation. His message to his daughter was, and there's actually a tape of this, he said, "You were given a very, very difficult challenge. You think about my nephew all the time, but for the kids, you can imagine what it's like, for the kids, the father to go through this." He said to his daughter, "You were given a very, very difficult challenge. very difficult. But you need to know that, among other things, the challenge gives you responsibility. He said because your challenge gives you the ability to show somebody else who's in pain, to relate to their pain. And that's, that is a Jewish perspective. Judaism is always a but. It's a challenge, but at the same time gives us a responsibility. And I myself, in trying to find meaning or good things coming out of my challenges, I look at the fact that I guess I could do something like this, and we have challenges, and it gives us the ability to tell to somebody else, I get it. And sometimes there's nothing more comforting to a person than saying that I get it. And even when it's not exactly the same challenge, but saying that you get it, or showing you that you get it, is something the best thing that you can do. I want to end with one other story. To have another. As I mentioned, Rabbi Kosh showed sensitivity. I think, as Rabbi Koch said, this wonderful gathering tonight is wonderful for what it'll accomplish tonight, but also it's part of a process to put this issue on the radar and also to sensitize people. People constantly, good people want to help, but they don't know necessarily what to do. I want to share with you just an experience that I had with a very special person who I just met once. There was one of the shuls in Rogers Park was having a procession for a new Torah scroll. Big celebration, so they had a band and dancing. So I brought my two sons that time, and they were probably like 13 and 16. So the truth of the matter is that there was dancing. One of my sons, the oldest son, can go in there and probably dance fine. The other one would probably be trampled. So I was standing on the side, sort of watching. It's difficult to sit on the side, and watch, but that's what I was doing. And this fellow came over to me. Now, I've had experiences where the people who mean well will do one of a few things. One, some people will do nothing because they'd like to, but they don't know what to do. Some people come and, let's go, you drag the kid in to dance, and the kid gets trampled. But they meant well, right? This person was a person who really internalized chesed, kindness. And what this fellow did, he came over to me and he said, "You think would they like it if we made a little circle? Just four of us." We saw people like, to learn from a person like that, because he didn't do something reflective. He didn't freeze into inaction because he didn't know what to do. But rather he did, I think, which is a very sensitive thing, to show that you care, and to offer. This person became a great head of a big yeshiva since then. I always tell people, I know why he had the merit to become head of this yeshiva, because again, he didn't just dance with the Torah, but he actually lived the Torah. Finally, and what I'm really going to end and leave. A number of years ago, there was a world famous rabbi, head of a yeshiva, was in town in Chicago, and I happen to know that he has an autistic teenage son. So we thought it might be nice to get to see him, get a blessing, and whatever insights he has. So they told me that he's very busy, probably not going to be able to meet you. I said, I think he'll meet me. Tell him Moshe Katz, two autistic sons, fat time. I knew that he would. So come in there, and he didn't philosophize to us. He didn't tell us. He obviously didn't tell us why we had given this challenge, because I wouldn't be there if he was that type of rabbi. First thing he said to my wife is, "How do you manage?" He showed my wife that, wow, I can't imagine how he has one. How do you manage? How do you manage? And that was more comforting to us than all the theology and all the insights. Just I get it. I understand how difficult it must be. Then at the end, he says, "Please give me a blessing." So as a rabbi, I'm thinking to myself, how should I put this blessing exactly? And I see, no, he's talking to my wife. He's asking my wife to bless him. Because as I described, he appreciates how special my wife is. And as I say, how special people here are tonight. He said to my wife, bless me. So my wife is not here tonight, so I'll bless you that everyone in this room should be blessed, because whether you're people who share this challenge, whether you're people who are here to help, whether you're people who are here because you get it, this wonderful panel, some of them I know very personally. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful, wonderful event, and you should all be blessed to have the strength. God should give us all the strength to withstand our challenges, elevate our lives and to use our challenges to make the world better and to give strength to people who share our challenges. Thank you very much.